All right, good morning, good night, and good evening, my motherfucking royals. So I was meditating and I was, getting in the space with God, right? And God's like, I want you to envision something real quick, Jordan. And I'm like, all right, I'm here. Like, he said, I want you to imagine that you're on a ship like the Titanic and it's sinking. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, so I'm there, right? I'm standing on the edge, I'm standing on the balcony, and physically the ship starts tilting, like it starts going. He's like, I don't want you to move until I say move. Like, I don't want you to try to get off the ship until I tell you to. And so I'm like, okay, so now it's not going down as graphically, like as intensely as a Titanic, but the ship is like going down, right? It was 101 as I was looking up. We got 41 right here. And so I'm going down, and like all these people keep like running up to me, and they're like, Jordan, like we gotta go. And I'm like, not yet. Like God said, don't move. And they're all freaking out. People are trying to just jump off the ship. People, 1, 2, 3, as I'm looking up, people are trying to jump off the ship. People are trying to get in the life rafts, and I'm just standing there, right? And so it gets down to where like I'm convinced that I'm about to go down with the ship, right? And then God's like, Jordan, like it's time to get off the ship, right? And so he's like, let me rewind that, right? And so then we start going through what would have happened if I had left at certain points in time when these different people tried to get me to move when God had said, like, stand fast, you know what I mean? And so in the instance with the lifeboat, right, if I would have moved when the lady was like, come on, we gotta go, and I would have went and got on the lifeboat, one of the cords snapped and they ended up falling into the water, and they actually didn't make it. It's 2:22. And so then like a guy had run up to me and he was like, Jordan, we gotta go. And he actually, because the boat was close enough down to where you could just jump in the water, he just jumped directly into the water, and God showed me underneath the water, and there was a bunch of sharks there, and a lot of people were being eaten, right? And then in the instance where God was like, Jordan, like you can go now, like come on, it's time to move, the ship was like pretty much under, like there was barely any ship left. But when I stepped off the ship, it was like a path was made for me on the water. So like there wasn't a boat there or anything, but I didn't like sink. I just kind of like stepped onto the water, and like I was safe right there, right? And so what I wanted to talk about for this message specifically is I feel like God will hold you for 3 reasons. God will tell you to stay exactly where you are for 3 reasons. The first one being like development, you know what I mean? God is going to get you to go through the situations that you need to go through to become the person you need to go to become the person you need to become. I don't need to say this a million times. 3, 4, 3. You hear it from everybody, like, you're probably sick of hearing it at this point, right? But God wants to make sure that you get all the experience necessary before you leave a certain area, right? That you needed to get from that area. So he's going to tell you, park it, right? The next one would be for safety. And that would be because God sees things that you do not see. And if you try to, disobey God and move when he didn't tell you to, that could end up catastrophic, like safety wise, or just in the grand scheme of things, like for his plan, for the blessings for you, for like all of that stuff, right? And so with the next one, and so with that also goes God, right? He has a certain vision for you, and sometimes God won't tell you that certain things are going on until you're either A, about to leave a situation, or B, until you've already left the situation. And that's not because he physically doesn't think that you can handle it, but if you knew some of the things that were going on behind the scenes, it might have caused you to prematurely like move, right? When he didn't say to move. Or you could have not shown up the way that you were supposed to show up in these situations had you known that, you know, some things were going on. And then the last thing obviously would be to test you, not just to test you in, you know, like, hey, I said do this, hey, I said do that, but right, God is going to tell you like, hey, I need you to do this. And he's not always going to give a reason why. He's just going to be like, do this. And he wants to see if you are going to follow that instruction to the T, 555. He wants to see if you are going to sit there and you're going to be like, all right, well, God said this, so this is how this is going to be. Like, this has to stay just like this, like until he says otherwise. 606. And then the other one would be, you know, putting you through tests while you're in that holding stage, right? And so during that dream, right, I got tested multiple times. I got, like, every time somebody came up, that was an opportunity for me to either A, stand fast on what God had told me specifically, or I could have been like, you know what, I'm gonna let fear shake me and I'm gonna leave right now. And both of those situations would have been bad, right? And so God will always test. Like, God's always going to test you. And I say it before, I say it again. Like, I think a bee just flew into the window right here. But God has had so many people come before you, and those people God had tested, and God was like, you know what, these people are ready. And then 707, when he put them where they were supposed to be, they failed him. They basically let the power go to their head. They let the money go to their head, whatever it was. And they basically completely fucked themselves. And so they then used that position that God had placed them in a negative fashion. And you see it all the time with like celebrities and how they flip, go to the dark side, like that kind of shit, right? And so if this message is for you today, trust in the word that God has placed on your heart. Trust in the vision God has placed in your heart, in your soul. And, you know, stand fast. He's going to tell you when to move. I know y'all hear that fucking plane coming over. He's going to tell you when to move. And when you do, it is going to be exactly what you need. It's going to be exactly what you need, exactly what you desire, all that, and then some. So much love to everybody as always, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. 808.